Alright folks, we're going to be unboxing the GPD Win 5. It just arrived and I'm super excited, and I wanted to unbox it and see what the first look is like. So we're just going to take a look, and let's just open this. This seems like a very big box. I did not expect it to be this big, but I guess it's because they must have put extra bubble wrap on it. Alright. Yeah. Alright, so the box is kind of big. Okay, so this is the 395 64 GB 4 TB. All right, and just, I think this is straight. All right, nice. So that's the inside of the box. It comes with a screen protector accessory. I think this is the tempered glass screen for the device. It's pretty cool. We'll probably use that later. I don't usually use screen protectors, but I think that we might have to use that for this. And I believe this would be our charging. No, I think this would be our cables. All right, so we have the regular plug for the adapter. I think this is an European plug. I'm not sure. All right, maybe it's a European plug. Yeah. And this is the battery connector in case you want, in case you want the battery to be extended and kept instead of joined to the device. So let's keep that there. We're going to need that. And this is reasonably hefty. Yeah, this is a full-on charging brick. So this is probably the most important thing you need for this device, because this does not use a regular USB-C charging. You can do that, but you're going to have a bad time with games that require more wattage. So this is something that's necessary. I believe it's 20 watts. It's 100 to 240, 2.5 amps, and the output is 180 watts. So it does a 180 watts. You can get smaller ones third party, but right now this is what we have. And the main event, this is GPD's logo. And let's look at that. Wow. Very nice. This feels very, very good. So first impression, this feels really light, very comfortable. Of course, the battery is not attached on it yet, but it feels like a very, very well-made, comfortable device from my first impressions holding it. My fingers can rest pretty easily on the back. I have big fingers. This does have these locks on it. Let me just take a look at what else is in there. I think it should be just the battery pack. Now, how do I get this out? Alright, so this is the battery pack. This is the coolest thing about this device. It has a removable battery pack. So if you have a couple of these, you can just attach them to the back. Let's see how to do that. So this has a different kind of connector, and I believe these two up here are the plugs. So I think you'd probably want to slide it in this way, and I believe it's locked on. Yep, seems pretty sturdy. It's locked on. Yeah, this oops, am I holding it upside down? This feels, actually it doesn't feel that bad. It still feels kind of comfortable. It is a bit more weighty. I think it's around 940 grams, 935 or 40 grams, something like that. But it doesn't feel very bad. I wouldn't personally use it because I don't use batteries as much. But it's there for people who want a battery. It feels comfortable, and I think it gives you a good amount of rest. So I think this is empty, so let's just, I'm gonna put it like, let's use this as a support over here. So, oh wow, it turned on, okay. So I'm not gonna set it up right now, I'll do a full review. If you have any questions about this device, feel free to comment and I'll try to answer them. But this device has been covered quite a bit with, you know, benchmarks and all that. So if there's something specific and if it's a game that I have, I would love to test it out in full-on review. It does have the GPD QC stamp, so this is quality tested. The language, for some reason, is in Chinese, but I'm sure that can be changed. The one thing I do want to check is to make sure that I don't need to sign in, because I do not want to sign in to, for safety reasons. You probably shouldn't use your accounts on gaming devices. You know, these are just for fun. Yeah, this is not something you would want to use. I'll skip that. So, well, this is a setup. I don't want to go through this whole thing right now. But so far, it looks pretty neat. I want to disconnect the battery and show you the vents, but the vents, they don't get blocked. As you can see over here, there is a gap. It's a few inches, and I think it's good enough. So it's there's a gap over there as well, so it's a full-on gap. So I think the vents can definitely work well. And also, this has two fans on it. They're two cooling fans. So because the 395 is probably the most powerful chip right now, and this is one of the smallest handhelds that you can get that chip on, it needs that kind of cooling power, and I will test it out and see how it goes with the cooling. But the design philosophy with which they have executed this device so far, it feels very interesting. Removable battery, 2 fan layers. It also has your trigger buttons that can be turned into digital pads if you want quick on-the-fly clicking. So if you're playing shooters, you can just lock these and they become quick shooters. So that's pretty cool. It has the back buttons as well, which is cool because a lot of games do use it. This nonsense. All right. The lower portion has a USB 3.2. So you can't, I'm not sure, I don't think this one can't do Thunderbolt, so you can't use an eGPU for this. It does have the new SSD format that is only made by Win right now, so I don't live in China, so I can't get this easily. But if you live in the United States, you should be able to get this much more easily. It has the regular SD card slot. This is a regular SD, it's not Express. It would have been cool if they went with Express, but you know, cost saving and all that. This is a very expensive device, so it's only for enthusiasts. So when you're making something for an enthusiast, I would have preferred if they put an Express card, but it's okay, it's cool. This has 4 TB, which is sort of enough for most stuff. My first impression of the screen, from what I can see, it's a good IPS panel. Sorry, LTPS panel. This is not IPS, it's LTPS. LTPS has a better color gamut range and gives you better contrast and colors and uses low battery and all that. So it's pretty cool. And also another interesting thing is the moment I turn this on, let me show you this. So it allows me to use the controller for some reason, which is pretty cool. So I think this has the Windows full screen experience on it. I'm just going to test it a little bit and, you know, let's see if we can go through this setup using the controls, because I think, who am I this time? All right, Cornelius. Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt. Oops, I've forgotten how to spell. So I do not want a password right now. All the spyware and all that stuff, you can just turn it off. All right, so we can skip. Oh, I should have used the controller, but okay. Anyway, so this would probably be like one of those first setups. It does allow you to get into the device without the internet, so that's cool. But I'm sure it's going to need a bunch of Windows updates because 25H2 just came out, and you probably are going to need that for the full screen experience. So now that I'm holding it, this definitely is only going to work if you're going to use this battery pack. You definitely want to use some kind of a support on the back. You want to keep it here. I'm not going to enjoy carrying this in my hands for too long because this is pretty heavy. I work out, but this, you know, this can feel kind of hefty. It's not a big deal if you are laying down in bed or, you know, holding it like that. So these sticks are TMR sticks. TMR sticks are an evolution of the old Hall joysticks, so they're better. It has a protective ring on the corner, as you can see over here. So this ring prevents scratches on your stick. And the motion is pretty smooth, something you would expect from low latency TMR sticks. So you will definitely have a good time with these. They're very, very comfortable. The top is a bit rough. It is concave, but I would probably use some kind of a pad on this because it's soft touch in the middle, but the edges are kind of rough, and I think they do that for the grip. But I like my sticks to be soft all the way. And it has the optical mouse over here. Let's see if it's working. So you can see the mouse moving. It's pretty good, actually. Very responsive. This is something I would use. And some people did talk about the power button being here. I don't think this is a problem because this power button is pretty flushed inside. So you can't just click it, right? See, I'm clicking right now. You have to really dig in to center it in. So that's not going to be a problem while playing games. And the other thing is, so these triggers are very, very soft touch. Not very noisy at all. So I put them on digital mode, so very, very soft buttons. Finally, GPD has decided to... I do not want this. So finally, GPD has decided to make proper buttons. I stopped using GPD devices because the buttons were too small, and these ones are perfect. These are regular size buttons. They won't hurt your hand, and very soft. So if you don't like the clickiness and the sound of buttons when you're playing in bed, and if you have people in your house, this is a very good device for that. See, there's almost no sound. It's very, very low. This is the standard PS, sort of like a modified PS Vita. D-pad, pretty good. On the full review, I'll do the entire test with some games and stuff and check out how that works. The speakers are front facing, and we'll have to check that out also while gaming. There are the volume keys. I'm really happy that they decided to put these volume keys here because this is something I use all the time, because Windows is a bit janky when it comes to volume. Some games are loud, some games are high, so you want something over here. It has a keyboard command key over here, and by default it opens this keyboard, which is okay. I would prefer it opens the Windows keyboard, the touch keyboard, which should be possible because they do have some remapping software on this, so there should be a way to remap this into opening our regular key. Now, what the So I think the plastic, it's important to talk about this plastic, because this is, I think, after the GPD Win 3, coming to this device with this plastic, it's really interesting because this is a very soft touch plastic. I don't think the early units used this plastic, because this is a very, very smooth, high quality plastic. This is not cheap. Because I know some of the review units did not feel this way. At least from what I saw, they seemed very, very different. So this is a very, very high quality plastic, and of course this is around $2,000. So you would expect, the best when you are paying for something like this. You want the best. It doesn't have an OLED screen, but on the plus side, it does have VRR and it's landscape, 1080p landscape. So that's pretty good. I guess they had to find a good compromise, because they didn't probably want to hit the $3,000 mark for this, which, that's a choice. It does have a USB-A port, very useful for plugging in your mouse. It has a headphone jack, and it has a barrel port, which will be your regular charging for 180 watts. And this is the Thunderbolt port, which you can connect your eGPU to. Although you probably wouldn't need to, this is plenty powerful for the most part, unless you have something specific going on with AI models and Sora and all that stuff. So, getting out of that, I can say this feels like an expensive device. It definitely has heft to it. It feels like it has value, not something you just throw around like a Steam Deck or Xbox Ally X. And given that this is a 395, this is almost I would say an RTX 4060 mobile, around that, the power. So when I do get to play some games, you can look it up online, but this is really powerful. This is like having a PlayStation 5 in your pocket. And the funny thing is it's designed like a PSP. It kind of looks like a PSP. What I really like, GPD has done a great job with this back grip over here. Just look at that curve. It's really, really good. Very good fit. And I don't have any complaints about these sticking out. They don't touch my fingers at all. I can't show it to you, I guess. So my fingers rest pretty much low down there below. So very, very impressive. The most impressive part so far physically for me is the plastic. I think this is, if you have an Xbox Ally or an ROG Ally X or a Steam Deck, the plastic on that is very industrial, cheap, but this does not have that feeling. It's very, very smooth, soft plastic, which I really like. It doesn't give you a cheap feeling to it. The other thing is, let me see, how do I turn this on? All right, here we go. So now if I disconnect the battery, I don't want it to crash Windows. I don't think it's going to do that, but ideally you'd set it up to go to hibernate, so I'm not sure if it's going to hibernate. Yeah, so let me just shut it down. You could set it up to go to hibernate and remove the batteries. I haven't done a setup yet, so I'm just going to manually shut it down so I can show you some of the external parts on the back. And I have no idea why it's not shutting down. Okay, there we go. It's still on its first boot. So to take this off, you would just click these two. And I don't want to break this. All right, pull it up a little bit. So it's not a very smooth process to take this out, because what you want to do is you want to click and lift a little bit. Slightly lift and click. Oh, sorry, click and then lift slightly. Yeah, that's how you do it. So it's not a very smooth process, but the interesting thing about the back over here is that this uses this pin connector. So in case you don't want this battery plugged in all the time, what you can do, they give you this connector cable. This is something I might, I don't know, I might use it on a flight or something. So it would just plug in over here. Wait, let me see it. Oops, it's this one. So basically this would plug in over here. Oop, and the other end would connect to your battery. So you don't have to carry the entire device. It's tethered to your battery. But yeah, it's a very niche use case scenario. You know, if you want to play in 6 watts, you at 6 watts or 7 watts, you should get around 7.5 hours, 6.5 to 7.5 hours of gameplay, or maybe more. So for games that don't use a lot of power, you could probably just plug this in with that cable instead of carrying the whole weight and using it. I don't want to slide it off. Okay, and it has DTS:X. We'll have to check how that works with this device. Some people have done sound tests. It's pretty hard to tell unless you have a live demonstration of that. But the vents, these are high quality because I can see underneath this. Let me show you this. So this is the top layer of the vent. But if you look underneath this, it does have some kind of a mesh inside, a honeycomb. I think it's a honeycomb mesh, which is really high quality for preventing dust that may enter in and, you know, disrupt stuff. It's not on the fans because the fans need to be fully open, but this center portion does have a honeycomb dust filter kind of thing going on inside. I'm not sure if it is that, but that's what it looks like. And that's a pretty high quality thing to have on a handheld. And it also has these lower vents over here. There are 2 slots over here. There's 2 slots over here. So I guess that would be taking in air as well. And these are the output of the device. Also, it has, I think this is the mic. Oh no, sorry, this is the reset hole over here. This is to use a reset, but it should, I think here's the mic. So this has a mic. I'm not sure if you can disable it. Generally, I would advise people to disable the mic on this, either via software or hardware, whatever. But if you really need it, yeah, it's good, it's there. I would definitely disable it. And I think I've covered pretty much everything I needed to cover on this device. So the front section does have this gamepad, or let me look at it here. So it has a gamepad and a mousepad mode. So if you click that, it'll go to gamepad mode, which is the controller indicator. Mouse mode will basically make these sticks into mouse and keyboard mode, so you'll have an easier time navigating. But I think with the full screen experience, you should be good to go for the most part. You have your home and a back key, the start button over here. So the back and start button, they are placed perfectly. This is where I would like them to be. So it's easier to navigate. It also has a menu key. I'm not sure what this does because GPD doesn't have any software that is inbuilt into the device, but I think this is more useful for the Bazite or SteamOS. If you install SteamOS on this, do not install SteamOS on this currently because the firmware this comes with, I believe, is 2.7 something as of today. Has a problem with Linux. So when they release the updated firmware, or I think they do have some kind of an update, if you have that, then you can boot into Linux and it shouldn't be an issue. But if you get this out of the box, you should probably first get a firmware update and then install Linux or whatever you want, Bazite, SteamOS. So overall, I'm very impressed. It's been a while since I bought GPD devices, but this one definitely looks very impressive. I like the grip, the texture, the controls feel very, very good as well in the hand. From my first impressions, the button placement's very good. It does have the, if you look close enough, it has the PlayStation X circle, square, triangle marked. So if you have girlfriends that are not used to switching controllers, or it should be easy for them to deal with this. Yeah, and also the inclusion of the serial port is a big deal. Now, I would have preferred if they had 2 Thunderbolt ports because some of the docks that you can buy the third party, you just keep it like that. And if you had the Thunderbolt port, you could also connect it directly to your eGPU. But otherwise, you can use the top port. You'd just be losing one port. This port, I think it does display. So it does display. It's 3.2, so it can do data, display. It can't charge. This is not for charging. This can charge at 100 watts. So you'll have to cap your wattage on your device if you want to use this port with a USB charger, which can be done. Personally, I would just use a barrel charger, so that would work well for me. And yeah, so if there is something I have missed or something you haven't seen, write down in the comments, and I'll try to get it down in the next video. And I'm sure people are going to complain about the price, but you know, this is an enthusiast device. This is not something you should just go out and buy if you're on a budget, because the only reason you would buy this is if you're some kind of a hardcore tech nerd kind of person, right? So it's basically for them. It's a very expensive toy that's fun to use and pretty cool. You know, it's like looking at the future, pretty much. In the future, there will be devices that are cheaper and have this same kind of power. You know, maybe in a year or 2 years, we will see devices like that. But right now, if you want the top end sports car, this is it, right? This is it in this form factor. The screen is 7 inches, and some people might find that small. Personally, 7 inches is good for me. Because as long as you have the right lighting conditions, most games are good at 7 inch. There are a handful of games that might take you out, like something like, let's say Starfield, if some people play Starfield, or like Skyrim. You know, if you want to be really immersed, you probably want 8 inches or so. But for most games, it's fine. Yeah, it does the job. 7 inches, good enough. Yeah, so I hope you like the video. If you like it, go ahead and like it. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. But thank you for watching.